and press the
Walter,
button.
the people want the Stubby to be overhauled, Walter.
You like saying that so much that you did it again
And
at
they
the beginning of the video.
and they don't care about the PGO, Walter. Except our fans do. Our fans. Our viewers do. So...
Yeah. So, I mean,
I love that
I don't know
mic
how to
tapping.
start this. Well, I told you, I dropped the mic and now it's on my stomach. So every time I breathe, it's going to be moving.
Please
Are you
it.
happy? That's what I bloody
It's
thought.
not. It's not about me. It's not about.
You know, I could actually set up the arm. I'll do that next time.
You do what you want. You do what you want, mate. But anyway, so there's been a bit of a, shall we call it, a trend set. Although it wasn't exclusively. I would say the trend was set by seasons, but there's sort of just been a thing. It happens from time to time. Not even arguably when it's necessary. It's just happened before quite a few times, which are when a single weapon gets noticeably more attention, sometimes even all the attention, for the weapon balancing of any given update. It was fairly sporadic before. In fact, I can't actually point to the major examples. Some of it happened really early on, like the minigun getting completely reworked, like ages ago though, before we started playing. But you know, weapon reworks or overhauls has always been the game's blood. But the last 3 seasons have all had one, like a pretty distinct one. Season 1 actually didn't, which doesn't surprise me. Didn't really need. Well, Season 1 specifically didn't need one. There probably was still a case to be made for any given weapon, probably the Stubby. But then there went on to be at least one of a really significant caliber every season. Season 2 actually did the Sludge Pump and the Drac. The Drac not as much. If you wanted to label one, it would be the Sludge Pump. The Sludge Pump got pretty much, if not like, these aren't reworks though. That's the thing. These are overhauls where they're kind of like it's usually just changing around stats more than anything else. Sometimes they do touch like the more significant upgrades, but it kind of just stops there. It's literally just to make the weapon better and feel better, but not actually to change what it is. Which is why I think overhaul is a much more appropriate term than rework. So season 2 we got Sludge Pump. Season 3 was GK2. And I think it was already at that point that people realised that this might be a thing. I think we sort of got. It felt like it was going to be a thing from that point onwards already, even though it was really only happened twice. And then, of course, season 4. In fact, it was actually. This is the case where it was revealed the earliest on. Obviously, it was the Sabata, which was honestly the closest one to an actual rework as well. Especially with the tier 5 thing. Although the GK2 one swapped a lot of stuff around. And then, naturally, now that we've had a set of 3. I think 3 definitely spells trend much more so than 2. It's not. This is the thing that sort of stumps me, is whether or not it's actually guaranteed though every season. Like I don't know if it is, because it sort of just hinges on whether or not they see or feel a need, and we don't 100% know where that need comes from, do we, Tyler?
Well, yeah. I mean, thing is the GK2 one very, very obvious, right? Throughout that season, there was a huge like wave of people complaining about the GK2. Like, it was obvious that they were going to do it and why they did it, because everyone kicked up a huge fuss about it. But with the Sludge Pump and the Sabata, not that there wasn't people that said it's bad, but there was no big thing about it, right? There wasn't like a huge Sabata hate or a Sludge Pump hate. Like, the Sludge Pump, the closest it probably was is that people thought the Sludge Pump was weaker than the other two, which probably wasn't even the case back then, but it certainly isn't now after the buffs, right? And it's kind of just, I don't know, they just need a light finger to get a like pulse, finger of the pulse, just to kind of figure out what they need to do, really. And I think that just a light finger on the pulse this time will give the Stubby, like, easily.
Yeah, assuming
Like,
that they want to do one, and I want them to.
which they definitely would.
I think they will.
I'm sorry, but if there's one thing they can learn from season 4, it's that weapon balancing is genuinely some of the most valuable content they can put their effort to. Like, honestly, minimal effort, maximum reward content. is weapon balancing. Um, so it would be silly not to do it.
I mean, I don't think that the overhauls have been low effort though.
No,
Like
but
genuinely,
compare it to the new enemies, new events, new game modes, new stuff like that. Like,
it's like comparing it on both levels and how much it sort of outperforms, right? Because it's like so much less effort than those things, and so much more unanimously positive reception as well.
yeah, wasn't there a poll you did a while ago? It was like, what are people's favorite content like from this season?
From season 4.
And
I don't think that was actually me.
all right,
I mean,
but you
might have done
saw it,
it, but
and
I saw at least one other as well. I mean,
yeah,
and it was like,
and the
what's
weapon
everyone's
changes
favorite
were
changes? What's everyone's favorite content from season 4? Basically, it was season 4.
yeah,
Um, and weapon balancing won noticeably.
yeah.
Shut up, woman.
And ultimately, I think I'm not sure if it was at the top, but it really didn't have to be because I know it wasn't further down. Like it's probably second or third if it wasn't first. And considering it was probably some of the least, like it's probably one of the most easiest things to do, right? Because I think randomizer was a fucking huge pain in the ass. The fact that they struggled for it so long and it still wasn't quite right, clearly that's a big thing. Jet boots was like a whole endeavor, right? That was probably a huge thing of like trying to add that system in. All the new enemies and that, like the new Rockpox enemies, all of that stuff. Like there is no way that like those weapon changes were close to any of them in difficulty to actually pull off, right? And I think the only thing that was probably easier would have been like the copy and paste thing or sleeveless. Like that was probably the easier bits of content,
Which were
but they
both
got about
also very well received features or changes.
yeah. But I think they got the people got out about as much as they put in. Like people don't really talk about the sleeveless. People don't really talk about the copy and paste. They are valuable when they improve the game as a whole, but like they're not the shit.
You know what people
But they
don't
weren't
talk
ever
about?
meant to be.
What people don't talk about that I think is actually unfair, and it's unfair because Ghost well, it's not unfair. I mean, because Ghost themselves never pointed it out. But for the randomized buttons in both the obviously season 4 added the randomized button for equipment as well. But for both of the options, both the wardrobe and your equipment, you can undo the randomizations. And I think that's just a really
That's
overlooked
good.
thing. The only reason, the only thing about it I don't know is whether or not you can do a mission with a randomized build and then undo it afterwards. I don't know if you can do that because I haven't been too scared to try. I don't want to lose the original build, but I think I will try
Yeah,
it just
but
to
it's
make
good that
sure.
they
Because
did that
if you can do
because
that, that's awesome.
I never dared press that button in the first place because of that. I didn't want to just have it go poof and oh there goes my build.
No, I mean,
Like, okay,
yeah, it's
uh,
yeah. Well, not a
that's
problem
nice.
now.
But yeah, essentially, like I think the balance changes was probably down there in time and effort really that where it essentially came down to like just changing numbers and codes like that kind of thing like you didn't need inherently like the artists to get involved. You didn't need probably even the game designer to get involved. I doubt Mikkel even needed to be like talked about until maybe the last stage when they swapped out like the Hurricane one and turned Double Baron to an unstable. And probably at that point, Mika would have gotten involved. But otherwise, it's just so low ball. I wouldn't say low effort, but just compared to everything else, it's definitely wouldn't be up there. And yet, easily is up there as far as the community is concerned, right?
Yes.
And I think everyone agrees on that.
Although frankly, for season 4 specifically, though, the weird thing is, I think most people have actually found the all of those overclock changes to be more valuable, possibly, than the Stubby overhaul, though. It's, I don't know if you agree with
The
that.
Sabata overhaul.
The Sabata overhaul, sorry.
Yeah, I would agree with that. And I would say that's because the Sabata overhaul wasn't perfect, first of all. Like, I still think it could do with hell another one, but probably more on the overclock side of things because they didn't touch overclocks, which they don't. They it's not a rule of thumb, but it seems like they don't they don't tackle overclocks for these overhauls, right? Is another thing. Really, like they can. I think with the GK, they changed a fair amount of
They
its
Electrifying Reload
overclocks.
got it.
Let's try and reload. Got it. AI stability got it. Bullets and mercy got it. Like they did actually. Honestly, the GK was an overall like boost in like everything, but they also tackled the mods a lot. And with the sludge pump, it was mostly mods, and now with the Sabata, it's mostly
I
mods. Like
mean,
only
they
the
touched three
unharmed.
overclocks once again. I mean, AG mixture not much, volatile impact mixture just sort of not much.
I guess. Yeah.
Sludge blast was pretty. Hmm. It's interesting that they actually buffed it, and it still sucks.
Nope, it's good. You're the only one that think it sucks.
I'm actually not. No, Tyler, that's not true though. That's not true.
All right, then anyone else that agrees with you is
But
also
look,
wrong.
I mean, if you
and
actually
suck.
look though, that like, I mean, I know that quantity is not, you know, it's not equal quality, but it's actually not as many changes here compared to the others. Actually, the Sabata
Mostly because they didn't really touch the
overclocks, yeah.
overclocks, which is why I think if they wanted to come back around, they might want to do that. But yeah, overall, I think it's
Ah!
more they want to try and they want to try and fix the gun, not including overclocks more. Like I think they want the base gun to be more solid, and then you know do the overclock side of things.
But I personally
Yeah.
don't believe any of the ones that could reasonably get this treatment. I think they have. I think the problems exist on both sides for all of them. I think the Stubby,
Yeah,
the problems exist
which I
on
think
both sides. Or
it
honestly,
was.
maybe even equally.
Yeah, but ultimately, I think you got to bear in mind that solid amount of time that people play in the game, like maybe for the first 100 or so hours, they won't have like all the overclocks on the weapons. The weapon needs to kind of hold up before it gets overclocked, and then even after it gets it. And I don't think the Stubby does either of those two things.
Oh, so yeah, obviously all of this leads to the expectation there'll be another one, and that obviously leads to the question of what will it be. And just over the course of just observing opinions in the community, it was always clear to me that it was a Stubby. So we kind of knew what the result of these polls was going to be anyway, but we did them anyway. I think mainly to fact for me personally to actually see how much other things could get, and to just confirm it as well. So we ran a poll on both YouTube and Reddit, yielding a unanimous winner, but some weird differences as well. And I think the main topics are going to be the Stubby and the PGL, and I think that's what most of the comments revolve around anyway. Maybe either that, or also some people's like other suggestions. And frankly, we don't exactly know what this is going to be as a video. I think it's just going to be sort of like a freeform thing, guided pretty heavily by the comments though. And I could easily see there being more poll related stuff as well, because if we ever decide to run more polls, the original idea was to actually talk about them in the podcast, but then it's like I feel like it really benefits to have this stuff on screen, and also, to be honest, we probably are going to get a lot out of this anyway. So first of all, we're starting with the YouTube poll, which obviously didn't get as many votes as the Reddit one. No surprises there, but like I said, there was a unanimous winner across the two of them. In this case, the Stubby wins with a 58%, which it annoys me. It doesn't actually tell you how many voted. I mean, you could easily figure it out, but yeah. But then the Burt and PGL were actually pretty close, but the PGL pulled ahead slightly. Kraiken is right at the bottom, and Zukov's are there. It's just the PGL coming second is the biggest difference between this and the Reddit one, though. Which
Yeah,
is
I
going to
mean, if
come
you
up.
want to actually talk about comparing, you need to show it. Otherwise, shut the fuck up.
Hey, well, there you go.
Yeah.
The Reddit one, 704 votes, 358 in the Stubby. Second place is Zukov's, 133. Then it goes third, Burt, and fourth, Cryo Cannon. I'm not really counting other in this case. And PGL at the bottom, which is representing incongruency between us and the larger community, and arguably the people who agree with us and this community as well, as in the people who sort of, I don't know how you would describe them, the people who's responded to our poll. We probably don't agree with us on everything, but I don't know if it's because of us that they think the way they think about the PGL. But that is a difference there. We've said a lot about the PGL in terms of how there are things about it that should definitely change. And in my opinion, it should be either the second or third. I think something that came out pretty quickly, though, was accepting that the Zukovs are probably not in a great place at all. If you were to recall, like, the first tier list that we did, we definitely overrated it like pretty massively.
Yeah.
It's actually
Well,
sunk after the introduction of the bolt shock and the changes to the boomstick since then. The Zukov has sunk really to the worst one of the three.
yeah. They I as much as I think most people want it to be the Stubby, I would not be surprised if they went for the Zukovs, right?
Yeah.
Like it's not something people want, but I think it's something that they would have noticed with, how beloved the crossbow is now with all the love that the boomstick got. The Zukovs are probably looking, like this untouched piece of junk. Well, I guess it wasn't that untouched. Last season it got like gas recycling and that, didn't it? But
Yeah, they did.
even
They
then,
made the changes that I thought that it needed, but it still didn't quite go all the way. Actually, so
yeah.
adding the armor breaking to gas recycling was probably the biggest thing. I thought it obviously needs to do that, but it still isn't exactly where it should be. But that could be more of a Zukov problem than gas recycling itself, anyway. Um,
Yeah.
I would still say though that I would still bring up the fact that this these changes, especially if you look at like how season 2 did a lot. Wait, the Sludge Pump was the main one, but it also did a lot for the Drac. And then you go to season 3 with the GK2 and season 4 with the Sparta. There's a bit of a bias going on. Just in the actual frequency of the classes attended to. I'm not saying the bias is an opinion based one, but based on there is a bias of these changes to who they're for.
Yeah, but I think generally you can say that bias is based on the fact that engineer and gunner are just better made generally, or
Yeah,
like they're less fragile
so think
as
about it.
like
Garner got some pretty significant changes though in season 4 for some of his overclocks, and Engineer didn't. Like a
yeah,
small
no,
buff to
they
spinning death.
they
It's a
they
really simple case
really
of Engineer kind. It doesn't really matter. It's just how balanced he truly is. In fact, I also don't think there's actually that is as strong of an argument anyway as people might think. It's kind of just the fact that it feels kind of bad for him to get so little attention for so long. It's very
yeah, it's what makes me think that they really didn't value that content that highly, that they didn't feel the need to spread it around. They just kind of did it, but yeah, I think engineer players really got the short stick of balance changes.
yeah.
And considering the balance changes were some of the most fun and interesting content they actually added last season, it essentially means engineer players got the least out of last season, or this season we're currently in. Well, season 4 for people in the future, time travelers. Um, and so yeah, I think it would be fair
Pardon
if
me.
the stubby got it. Like, not only should the stubby get it, but the stubby should get it. So an engineer weapon should be overhauled. So engineer would inherently get the most. All right, and like that's kind of another reason why
Yeah.
really like if they're doing one, which they should, it should be the stubby. And I think it's just unanimous. It really is, right?
It's
Like
extremely
both
unanimous. I mean,
sides.
the Stubby.
Yeah.
The truth is, before we get to the comments, I think we can even make a pretty sound observation that even though I think there are big issues with the PGL, the reason why the Stubby is far more likely to get it, not just because of this. Well, actually, I suppose it is because of this. It's just they probably know that it's the least used one. It gets shit on a lot, and even though the PGL is an extremely unstable weapon, it gets almost nothing but love, and the Stubby almost gets nothing but shit. Um, and neither one are like absolved. They both have things that need to be changed, but it's just the difference in attitude
One of
towards
them,
them that is going to
yeah.
dictate which one gets it. So it's going to be
Like,
the Stubby.
like ultimately, like as much as I do think the PGL has so many issues that it really really needs it. If nobody sees those issues, then why waste the effort, right? Why do work that no one will
Because we're
notice or
asking
has a
really
high?
nicely. That's why.
Yeah, well,
Please,
yeah, but
please.
like no one will even notice it, or they might slip up, and by slip up we mean do something right and reveal the weakness that is the PGL. And then people will hate on them for breaking the weapon, even though the weapon was already broken. They just had like it just has a really good facade of being a good weapon. Like
Facade.
they might treat the flying one properly and actually make it as bad as it should be, right? Where all it's supposed to do is help you get around. Um, like if they fix that, then like they do something there, and it's like, yeah, I don't know. Point is, I think PGL deserves it most, but there isn't a good reason why they would do it
Yeah, it
now,
wouldn't
or
benefit them.
it be the only one to
It
be done
wouldn't
as
it
well.
wouldn't benefit them, unfortunately. But that's not as much as a huge problem because it would benefit them to do the stubby, right? It's like
Yeah,
we want changes to be made to the PGL, yes, but we also want change to be made to the stubby, and it would also get positive reception
everyone
as well.
wants
So I
changes
can't
to the
really
study.
argue against that because I still want it to happen, and it would be better for them than touching the PGL. So I really can't blame them.
Yeah,
But
but in an ideal world, they would do both, especially since Engineer got so little last season or this season, right? Like
yeah,
they would they would tackle a primary and a secondary, and I think the worst secondary is the PGL, and by like a significant margin.
yeah.
Um,
Let's also briefly explain the other options. Zuko's I think we've done, but Bert is only there because it's
its overclocks are abysmal.
abysmal. Um, And Cryo Cannon is only there because I feel like we needed a driller weapon in there for some reason. And it's the one with, I think, the most fundamental problems. I think. The flamethrower arguably shares some of them.
I think both. I think if they approached both in a like with their new kind of mindset of how they do weapons, then both would benefit greatly.
I'd love them to both get it at the same time, like a split overhaul of just the fire and ice. Because I don't think each
Yeah.
weapon individually needs as much attention as like the Sabata got or needs. So it could be either one.
No,
I
I
think
think
we
it's the
also
opposite.
knew, maybe we knew that the cryo cannon would at least, the flamethrower would not get any votes, basically, is what I'm saying. Um,
The yeah, I mean, but the like the flamethrower and the cryo cannon, like they kind of just need an extra layer. Like they just need to be kind of like just better designed. And I wouldn't levy that as much against the flamethrower because I think the flamethrower has a pretty good trifecta. You know, direct damage, setting things on fire, sticky flames. But I think it could be done better. Like I don't know, setting on fire, actually having an overclock that kind of
well,
reinforces that,
so you're right
and
though, but the direct damage is
face melter
actually the
being good.
worst. Is the worst part of the Trinity, though.
Yeah, but it's also not because it's like essentially the thing that you're always going to be doing, if you know what I mean. Which is the same for the setting things on fire and the sticky fuel. You always do all three. You can just make some of them better. And the one with the highest spike is sticky flames. Sticky flames is the best when you make it the best, and it's the most efficient. And it's it's sticky flames. It's sticky fuel.
Yeah,
It's the
it is.
unstable one.
Whatever. Look,
Um,
that's not even in the. It's not in the poll, Tyler.
I
Come
know.
on.
I'm just saying. I think the flamethrower just needs those other ones to be reinforced better. Just having the direct damage actually be good enough to where the flamethrower has a way of killing a Praetorian in a good amount of time. Like that being something without being a huge ammo dump, like at least like over a period of time. Either you dump a lot of ammo, kill it instantly, or you use not that much ammo and it kills it in a reasonable amount of time. Point is, um, the flamethrower could be doing with a more normal buffing of like two of its areas, or like reinforcing. The cryo cannon only has one area, freezing figs, and it's that's it. And that's why I think it needs. I wouldn't go further than overhaul, and I would say a rework to the cryo cannon. I think it's somewhat due, um, which is why we put it on the list, or at least I was fine putting it on the list.
Yeah.
Because yeah, but obviously no one seems to agree. That I think
Anyway,
Quarrow Cannon low down on here, Quarrow Cannon's low down on the other one.
let's see what you think. You, pointing at you, the people,
Me,
not you. Intrafacial. That's a weird name. He's got something. Something. So still don't know exactly how I want to handle looking at the comments because they're not all of equal worth. But I guess we do kind of need to just look at them all or read them all.
At least all the WoW ones. These are our
yeah,
commenters.
sure. Sorry, I mean, yeah, absolutely. So from Interfacial86, I'd love to see a PGL overclock where hitting a soft spot on a bug embeds the grenade into the bug, exchanging the normal AoE for about double or triple damage done internally to the bug that was hit. Okay, so immediately, I mean, I don't know if that would really ever get picked over hyperpropellant though. I feel like people would really struggle to see the benefits, and I think Ghost Ship would as well. I think they would perceive that future and be like, maybe we don't need another.
Because it's AoE damage.
Yeah.
So if you want why would you pick it over hyperpropellant? It's not competing against hyperpropellant.
Yes, it is. It's all about. It's literally. It's like he's saying it would do all the damage done just to the bug it hits. All the extra damage. Yeah, it's internal, like embedded detonators. I just think it's a bit weird. I also didn't really understand the next part I wanted to say. Maybe also make it where if the tier 5 spike grenade kills the enemy directly, then the explosion happens normally, centered on the dead bug. I imagine it being a balanced OC with maybe reduced projectile speed and or decreased ammo capacity. So the weird thing is, it would actually be justified to make something else that does have something to do with direct hits, though, because it's not only hyperpropellant. Spiky grenade pre-existed hyperpropellant. It's still something. So I think other ones that utilize direct hits could be cool.
And actually quite like the idea that I guess I came up with from reading it.
All right.
In that you would shoot the grenade launcher inside an enemy and it would essentially like embed it, like with the new kind of Sabata thing, where you would, when you kill it, like the thing, it would then just blow up like the grenade launcher. So you could essentially fill like a couple glyphids with like the grenades with a grenade launcher and then just like kill them and they'll just all explode. That's how I read it for some reason.
I mean, that sounds
weird. But you
weird.
had to like insert it in a soft spot.
Yeah, I mean, it would be weird if we did have something that somehow used weak points, but I think that's how you would do it, and that would actually be kind of cool. Kind of. A little bit.
Yeah. Lately. But I think this is stuff that like you could easily start brainstorming once you fix the foundational issues.
Yeah, well, that's the thing.
This wouldn't fix anything.
This is really brainstorming. This is other stuff.
Yeah, but clearly, I think we see someone who voted on the PGL. It seems though.
Well, not necessarily, but probably. Well, oh, you mean this guy? You mean?
No, I meant that guy.
Oh, whatever.
But also that guy.
Anyway, from Loot Bug Looter, honestly, I think all the weapons are in a reasonable spot. Well, we could probably just stop there. Everything seems viable in Hazard 5. Of course, there's high performance in every class, but I think that's okay as long as they don't blow the competition out of the water. Every gun has a build that can be used on Hazard 5 to decent effect. The difference is that some of them have loads of builds, and some of them have barely have one. That's the difference.
Yeah.
And the argument is sound from the perspective that every weapon can be used, but that's not inherently what we're looking for. We're not inherent because we know they're all usable in some form, but that doesn't mean we don't want them to be usable in every form they can be found in. Basically, we want them to be balanced in their own right of having at least or having multiple distinct builds that are viable in Hazard 5. That is the goal. And I'm not denying that every weapon has at least one, but I think every weapon deserves more than one. Every weapon deserves at least 3. And I think it's a bit strange to put a numerical value on it, but if it helps you see what we're getting at, then I think that's fine. Sorry, but yeah, I mean, that's just someone sort of telling us to shut up. Which is nothing wrong with that. I mean, it'd be wrong if they were saying that, but don't worry about it, because don't worry. But that's not what we're getting at. We're getting at something else, which is every weapon deserves more than one way to be used. You can't deny that some of them are limited. Although I'm actually really sadly brain farting. I guess a really big one probably be actually Zukov's, where that's one of the most singular weapons actually in terms of builds. And honestly, I would assume that when it comes to the actual meta, the Stubby is actually in sim position with EM turret discharge. I assume when it comes to people who really focus on the meta, that's the only overclock they're using. Um, Not even EM refire booster, which which most people do consider to be a good one for the Stubby. I feel like turret discharge is still probably reigning supreme. So, oh well. Um,
Yeah.
the Doctor. PGL need the update most out of those. Woo! Like that gun is only be good because of the fire upgrade. Remove it and the breach cutter is just remove it and the breach cutter is better in every way. And Crow doesn't need any large changes to its base. Just make tier 5A usable and give it 1 or 2 unique OCs. Right. So so he's obviously right about the PGL thing.
Hmm.
If you remove the fire upgrade, suddenly it won't be used. Right? It just won't be.
Yeah.
And this is the biggest problem. We really did get into it on the podcast though, so I don't know if I want to get into that specific issue. Although someone has brought it up. And that tier also has that tier specifically I always find funny because it has a completely useless upgrade in it as well. The annoying thing is that Fatboy doesn't rely on the fire upgrade. And people would still use Fatboy, and I don't know how much and that would expose how much it's carrying it.
So
I mean, you had the idea of removing the fire, didn't you? For
yeah. But congratulations! It now has one viable build.
Yeah.
Like it's still in an absolutely abhorrent place, but yeah, it would have one build that wouldn't be ruined by not adding fire. And it's because ultimately Fatboy, you could basically do anything you want with the mods, and Fatboy would be as good as it always is. Really, like I'm not really sure how hard you could fuck it over. Really,
Probably can't.
I mean, obviously you would want to put ammo on it, but it's not like it's much better. Really, like it does what it does. There's nothing you can really do to change it.
No.
But yeah,
What about the cryo cannon stuff though? He said it doesn't need any large changes to its base. Do you agree with that?
well, like it's difficult. Strength wise, obviously the cryo cannon's fine, right? It doesn't underperform
No.
most of the time. It's just that it's 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 kind of boring, and it's only ever one way to use it because there really is only one way to use it. Like in the end, you are just doing like the most wild it gets is just a different way of freezing, which is like snowball, right? Like the next best thing is obviously well, not the next best thing. I guess an example otherwise is the ice spear, but you still requires you to freeze them in the first place to really use it best. Um, but I don't know. It could do with just to be more interesting, rather
Well,
like his second part.
Tier 5A
Essentially
being
the
usable would do something, I think, in that regard, because Tier 5A is
it's the shatter one, right?
it's called fragile, yeah. And I actually don't even think it's inherently bad. It just falls apart compared to cold
Well,
radiance.
it's. I think that shatter is inherently what people that like ice spear, not ice spear, ice storm. That's what they want, right? But they want shatter to be like better, to where it cleans it up its own mess, essentially.
Yeah.
Um, and I think that's kind of fair. I mean, I think maybe it should just do that. Just like I don't know. I mean, what is it already? It's like medium targets, or just any target frozen has a chance to just shatter, right?
It's when the cryo cannon damages a frozen enemy below I think it's what the hell? I don't understand what's being said here. I think basically if if it damages it while it's frozen and it's below 100 true HP, whatever that means, it has a chance to insta kill it.
Right.
Weird. I think it should be something like
Just when it
should
gets
just
frozen, it has like a 25% chance of shattering
yeah,
or some
it
shit
could
like
be
that.
that, or you could
And
even
then
add.
the shattering has like an AoE that like has a chance of shattering any other frozen enemies nearby. Some bullshit like that. To where it would essentially clean up its own mess, just casually. That's how I would go about it,
Yeah,
at least.
sure. I mean, I think it is up there in terms of problems for both of these weapons, both the flamethrower and the cryo cannon. It
Plus,
is
and
heat and cold
I
radiance.
think this is something as well. A third tier 5, right? I think all weapons that get a third tier 5 kind of generally benefit from it. I would. There are a
Mm.
fair amount of examples that say otherwise, like the EBC. But
Bitch.
hopefully that fixes itself, or that's going to get annoying. Like this app, I can't stand it. But we back.
Yes, we're back, babe.
Yeah. Point is I think generally a rule of thumb. You know how in the end we imagine everything having like 9 overclocks or something, like in the end game of the game or some bullshit, right? Um, like so just some kind of end goal where ideally things
Mm.
would be in a good place. I think having 3 tier 5s just bodes better for a gun. I think guns are just more interesting when they have 3 tier
I'm gonna
5s.
close this,
Yeah.
and you don't need to see that at all.
Yeah.
You don't need to see that. Fuck's sake. Sorry. Yeah, you're. Well, I don't know how correct you really are, though. I mean, I think it should be that way, but they're not
It
every
bodes
weapon that
better.
has
It's
them.
it's not inherently, but I think it's like tier 5s are like overclocks 0.5, or like, it's like in the next tier of mod. Like it is like the base version of an overclock. It tries to change the gun in an interesting way, or like doubles down in somewhere pretty harder than like all the other options,
But
right?
when
And
there's
I think
three,
if
there's
you've got
actually always no. There's always one that isn't up to scratch, or it's just a
sure,
problem for the
but that
weapon.
doesn't mean it's a bad idea. It just means they haven't really done it right.
No, I actually agree. I
Like,
think they should actually all have a stab at having three and see what it looks like. I think because tier fives are interesting upgrades. So absolutely, like even the sludge pump. Obviously, the sludge pump did have three at one point. Unfortunately, the
yeah,
third
but
one
it
was
just
really
shoved one into the
uninteresting.
base gun.
Yeah, and it actually improved it a lot. So
Yeah, because it was good.
yeah.
But
Anyway, we've
yeah,
got someone who's speaking to the consensus here. Halo for the win. Nice, I like that. Stubby definitely needs the most work, just because the weaknesses of the base gun, especially in rate of fire, but also less so in damage, leads to two main builds, in my opinion. A weak base gun is the worst. Oh, okay, so it's okay. Stubby first then. Weakness of the base gun, especially in rate of fire. Well, it's like very slow for a SMG, and this is something that the GK2 had as well. It just wasn't like automatic enough, which sounds
yeah.
stupid, but automatic weapons, people doesn't have as many as people think, and some of them aren't meant to be that automatic. Like the Thunderhead doesn't need to be that fast, and the minigun gets it right and always has done. But the GK2, it always felt like it should be faster, and it just got a base increase to its rate of fire. And I think if the Stubby gets an overhaul, that's going to be just an automatic thing.
I think you need to increase the rate of fire and kind of lower the recoil. Like it should be leaning closer to like the minigun, but like more like bursts,
Well,
something like that.
I mean, maybe. I would say when it comes to expectations about an SMG, though, I think high rate of fire and high recoil are both things that are expected. Um, I'd rather see something pretty absurd. Like it could almost feel like Sabat automatic fire all the time. But then again, if you made it have really high base recoil though, then all of a sudden recoil mods would just get picked all the time. So it's not inherently a good idea. And damage is the thing that I don't know how much that would actually get buffed. Because they want it to hinge on electricity more, but then again, electricity is a problem in and of itself. It's really hard to like pin down what Stubby actually is. It's the thing, because it's not a DPS weapon and it's not a crowd clearer. It's just this really, really sad sort of hybrid, but not hybrid, like generalist. Like the Stubby is like good at killing like weak things on their own. That's the average Stubby like specialty. It's good at killing
Which
a grunt that's on its own. Basically, grunt slashers, Mactera spawn, and Trijaws, and then like what's the other thing?
in all fairness, it's not like the other ones are much
Spitters.
better than it, right? Because obviously, engineers primaries aren't exactly the greatest thing since sliced bread. Like, but it is kind of like you can get both of them to encroach on killing a Praetorian in a reasonable amount of time, right?
Yeah.
Where is there a Stubby build where that's like close to a thing?
If there is,
really?
it's really inefficient. Like you can get ones on the Warthog or the Smart Rifle that actually feel, not only are they actually good at it, but they actually feel really efficient. Like
Executioner
Executioner is a
is
really
the weak
amazing
one.
example where it's like you do if it's on fire and you get that fire damage bonus, then you can do you can almost kill Praetorian in one burst, and that just feels incredible. And then
Yeah.
so Warthog does, if you take Cycle Overload for example, and like an 8-round magazine, it's almost enough to kill it, and that feels really
Yeah.
nice.
I mean,
And it's
there's
quick as
plenty of
well,
options.
really quick
Yeah, I
too.
mean, Warhog's already not that bad against Praetorians because the shotgun kind of does jives well with the weak point that you just kind of get behind him and release your load. Plus, with the weak point bonus one with a tighter spread, that one's solid. Point is yeah, the Stubby is just like, how would you like to slowly kill a couple grunts? I don't really
Yeah,
like that.
I
No.
just I don't like the idea that I really hope they're not scared of increasing the damage though, because they want it to depend on electric damage to a certain extent. So the problem is there is no like really strong either electric or kinetic damage build. I think it actually deserves to have both. I'd say electric has it a bit more, especially with the turret discharge, although it's still very specific overclock. But like I think
I mean,
Stubby deserves some kind of direct damage thing, something to like even make something that even somehow makes like electric arc not an attractive pick is something that it needs first of all.
turns off electricity.
I
Like,
mean,
it's possible, right?
it's
It's
obviously
not like
it's obviously
there's
possible,
a
but I
mod
don't think it should do that.
I don't see why not. It's an overclock. It can do whatever the fuck it wants.
It's
You can just
like,
not use it.
well, I suppose there's nothing actually quite like the Stubby, is there? It's the only weapon that is like a kinetic weapon that just happens to have an element that it's built upon, but it's not an elemental weapon either. You can't take the fire away from the flamethrower, obviously. But
Yeah.
the Stubby is still. The thing is, it's not actually built around the electricity enough. So that you either need to double down or make clear that you don't need it either. You need to be able to, or in an ideal world, you'd be able to do both, where you could really double down electricity, or you could cut it off entirely and still have a viable build. Which would require
Yeah.
overhauls in both the modification and overclock department, though. And
But
that's what it
in
needs.
the end, yeah, but in the end, the Stubby, all it currently is at the moment is increased electrical chance, and then you shoot your turret as much as you possibly can with the AoE one. That's it. That's how you use the Stubby, right?
Mhm.
That's 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 the Stubby. That's all it is. That's the peak of the gun, and it's just kind of terrible. It's really fucking terrible. Um, and so
Oh,
yeah,
poor
but I think
Stubby.
everyone knows.
Yeah. That was just one part of this good comment. Well, PGL is in an okay spot, but it needs to be changed so that incendiary isn't the must-have. Maybe increase its base radius and damage, but have incendiary reduce both its radius and damage. Oh, okay.
And what's
I
the
was gonna
debuff shoe? Is
start.
that a thing?
Well, asthma splash.
Rude,
Well, first of
but
all, Tyler. First of all, these mods technically do that anyway by taking away direct damage. Technically, even though you
what?
could probably argue that it's converting damage,
Right.
which is technically losing something and then gaining something. So it's a trade-off. But I was immediately going to call it out that this comment where it's like just increasing the base stuff would not change incendiary compounds pick rate. But if incendiary compound actually reduced radius, I think radius is probably the biggest one because people probably don't realize the reason. One of the biggest reasons why incendiary compound is so valuable is because of how it ignores damage fall off. And
Yeah.
they've either got to make it so that it's affected by it, but I think that would make it I think that would actually make it worse than base, maybe.
Unusable. So it would make it just as bad as base. It would still exist, but you would need to buff the base weapon.
Yeah,
You would still need to do that.
but I think reducing radius is something. There might be something there, and then it would still be just as strong as normal, but within a reduced radius.
Yeah, but we wouldn't fix the gun, obviously, right?
Oh,
That it would just make incendiary worse, and people would still use incendiary, but it would just be worse overall.
yeah. I mean, I'll reiterate it here. I said it on the podcast, but I think I need to reiterate it. I think a really obvious buff that the PGL, in my opinion, should get, regardless, because even though this wouldn't help the issue, I don't think it would exacerbate it either, and it would help the PGO in some category. And it's a change that could be made without having to rework it or overhaul it in any way. Is just bringing up the damage enough so that it can kill grunts anywhere in the radius at base. I think that's a change that they can make, and I don't think it would make any of the issues worse. So maybe you can do that.
Yeah, I don't know. I think it's their fucking job to play around with it, but it definitely needs to occur. And that's the thing. If the incendiary mod wasn't in the game, I am 100% sure they already would have done it. That's the simple fact of the matter. This app has notifications pop up. They would have done it because it would have been so weak that they would have had to have already buffed it. But no one has noticed how weak it is, and we can tell that by the other one, the Reddit one. Everyone thinks the PGL's fine on the Reddit one. They don't see a point, which I think is bullshit. It's fucking bullshit.
Think, Reddit, think! Would the PGL be as good as it is without incendiary compound? No!
Yeah, and if no one sees an issue there, then that's when I have an issue with them personally. That a mandatory mod selection not being a giant flaw in a weapon is kind of silly. Yeah. But yeah, that's part 2 of 5 of his comment.
I think Ghost Ship would see that as an issue, but they also need to. Well, even if something they see as an issue isn't automatically going to get changed, though. Certain things do, like bugs, pretty much automatically get changed, even if they would actually cause outcry, which has happened. But when it comes to changes like this, they're not going to make it just because they see a problem, because the only way to actually see a problem is if it's a problem for the people, and it's not, unfortunately. And that's sort of holding the PGL back. People don't see the problem
with it.
Yeah.
So why would they patch it? Why would they put the effort in? It's like it's like other thing. It's literally with them having time be such an important factor that we need to do as much as we can in as quick amount of time as we can, and we have to prioritize so much. Why would you prioritize a weapon that everyone already loves, even if that weapon is fundamentally flawed and you can see that? Nobody else can see it, so what's the point?
I mean, I'm glad you've already gotten something out of this, that takeaway about why they would do the Stubby over the PGL. That's becoming clearer and clearer. Just being reinforced. That's a good takeaway we've got already. Cryo seems fine. It's rough solo, but a fantastic support tool. And I'd argue more useful in a team over more mission types than the Crisper. Yeah, I mean, the Crisper doesn't. Well,
yeah.
The flamethrower's never been benefiting your teammates anyway. And the cryo cannon was, I feel like, the idea was pretty much for it to be that anyway. I actually think it's much better on solo than people think, though. Which could just be an Ice Storm thing, but
it's kind of nicer on solo because you actually get to combo it instead of everyone else stealing all your fucking kills.
Okay.
Angry face emoji. Well, no, it is though, right? I'm just saying that you're there, you freeze up an entire horde. You're like, all right, now I'm going to fucking EPC, burning nightmare them, or I'm going to satchel charge them, or I'm going to drill them for health, and then they all just get cleaned up by some fucker with a thunderhead. And it's like, okay, it kind of.
But that's because
it's unrewarding to use the cryo cannon in public lobbies most of the time.
That's because it's really difficult to not make a That's because, Tyler, your brain works, right? Which I don't think I've ever said before, but it's because you are actually being very rational, or you're just at a very base level being following very reasonable instinct that you want to make a self-sufficient build. Where in I would imagine a lot of people don't actually. I can't imagine a lot of people do, but I feel like that's what the point is. When people say cryo is really good in a team scenario, I feel like those are the people who don't actually build themselves to be able to do things themselves. They take the cryo cannon and they just freeze things, but they don't actually kill them. But it's natural to make things that pair with it. There's no reason not to take a Burning Nightmare EPC or a Temp Shock, a Wave Cooker. You shouldn't be taking anything else because that's the best thing to pair with it anyway.
Yeah, but you don't need to pair with it if you're playing with other people. Except for then when you're like separated with other people or they suddenly stop sight shooting it, you're now up shit's creek, except for the drills, really. Like I don't know, it's annoying.
Do you
That's what
think
I'm
this
trying to
actually an
say.
issue that can be fixed through balancing? Though? Or is this something else? This is
I
through like
I
player
don't. It's
behavior.
not a strength issue. It is. I thing is that's the thing. Like he says, seems fine. He's right. The cryo cannon strength wise is fine. It's just kind of odd and weird, and like it's I don't know. It's weird. It's a weird weapon that I think they need to come back to and like try and make it a bit more interesting. Really, that's my thing. That like this is it. So that you freeze enemies. That's it.
Mm-hmm.
That is it.
That's all your
like
teammates want. Certainly.
yeah,
But
and so it's still strong and it's still fine. But like I don't know. I kind of wouldn't mind more from the cryo cannon. Um,
we know. What about the Burt though?
yeah, the Burt it's just the overclocks.
Burt needs some mod
Like
reworks. Well, actually, he doesn't. He's talking. Well, no, he's right. He's talking about overclocks, but he said mods. But actually,
mm,
I think the mods are actually fine. um, almost
yeah,
fine. If
I
there are
think
if there are problems with the Burt's mods,
they're a bit
it's no more problems than any other like weapon. Like for
Gen one
example,
and twos, bland
miniguns
ones.
probably. Well, the minigun's actually almost perfect, but it's probably not far off that. The BOT it lies in the overclocks. It needs some overclock reworks is what you should be saying. With full chamber seal and electromagnets needing some work, there will be an electromagnets video. No, because I did like the good or bad thing with Ice Storm. It's going to be that. So it's not like I'm not going to do like a character assassination, although it will service that. And I'm not going to do it now. But if you don't understand why electromagnets is awful, maybe consider dying. I'd like to see them do to
in
full.
whatever way you choose.
Yeah, I'd like to see them do to full chamber seal what they. Although electromagnets couldn't do it, so don't try to use that. I'd like to see them to do to full chamber seal what they did to manual guidance cutoff, where they changed the clean into a unique unstable. I think that would be an okay thing.
Which one's full chamber seal? Is
Full
that
chamber
damage or ammo?
seal is the one that is completely worthless, right? Because you have hold on, I probably should have vet this. So if we go to Gunner, um, but okay, yeah, it's full chamber seal. It's the clean damage one. Like composite casings, people do use. Compact mags is great. Electro experimental rounds is actually underrated as well.
If you want range and
Dead
damage,
spray, dead
then
spray.
that's
Like obviously there is a problem of having like literally an ammo and damage one in every category, but full chamber seal is the worst of that. I mean, so is micro flechettes as well.
micro
Also
flechettes is fine.
probably
Fuck
doesn't
you.
need another unstable. What did you just say?
Micro flechettes is fine. Fuck you.
I thought you changed. I thought you changed to thinking that wasn't the case recently.
No, recently I started liking it.
It's better than this one. I'll say that. So sure, if you want to like really focus on one, change that into something interesting would be a valid approach. What am I doing? I should just close everything that we don't need, shouldn't I? Yeah. Well, that is actually kind of where it starts with the Burt. I mean, this video isn't gonna be about the Burt more than anything else, or it's gonna be about the Burt the least. So
change its overclocks. That's all it's ever really needed.
yeah.
But they just never really got around to it.
Zukov's thing is interesting. I've honestly not looked into Zukovs to understand their weakness or why people think they're weak. I've used the clean that increases rate of fire with the rate of fire mod and had a blast with it, but I can't speak to its competitiveness. Sounds a little bit not Hazard 5 playing opinion, kind of. I actually do think Zukov without like the free unstables is actually slightly underrated, but it's also
I
not
think the
great.
Zukovs feel better than they actually are. I think that's the thing. So they feel more rewarding than they are. Like you feel like, oh, I'm having a great time, having a great time. I'm killing so many things, but you're only killing like a couple of things, and then you're out of ammo. And you're oh, except for better detonators.
Yeah.
All right.
Wow. Okay, that's fine.
I don't have much more to say about the Zoo Cubs.
No,
I don't really
never do
care
I.
about them at
Look,
all
show less.
anymore.
Arthur dos Santos. I think they're all okay, but Stubby only has two sides on the spectrum when building: full electric or full magazine damage, and that makes building very boring, even with the overclocks. The I
Yeah,
didn't.
and both of those aren't
I'm
even
not
that
sure if
great.
this is. I didn't even know this was considered a thing because when I build it for like generalist / damage use, it's EM Refire booster, either with all ammo or ammo and one damage mod. And I've never taken increased magazine size because I genuinely don't think it's possible to justify taking magazine size over electric arc.
Well, I think if he's referring to like the full, like the tons of ammo mod and like focusing on not electric, that is one of the worst builds I've
Well,
ever
no,
used in
it's
the
not because
entire game.
it's full magazine and damage. The ammo overclock doesn't increase magazine size, so
Yeah, but he could
he's
just be referring
taking
to ammo.
EM Refire booster for damage, and then taking all the magazine size mods. Um,
Mm.
that would be it because those are the two overclocks. Um, it's also just like it's just a thing that I think it's dumb as hell that the Stubbies, both of the Stubbies, unstable overclock. I mean, the fact that it has two turret overclocks is kind of stupid anyway. I I just think that, and honestly, the weird thing is that EM Discharge feels like an afterthought anyway, even though it's a stronger one. Like it feels like they started with electric like turret arc, and they made it look cool and whatever, and they're like, what about one that just is what about a simpler version of that?
It's
And they
just
made it, and it's
turret
way
width
better.
that like AOE like around the turret.
Yeah, but the thing is, what I mean by that though is that I think turret arc is the one that they started with, and it's like they would have a much harder time like removing. I don't think they should remove it anyway. I think it should just be made just better, or just ignored and have something better like introduced. Yeah, I didn't even think of. I don't know if people actually go all magazine. Like, are there actually people out there who aren't running electric arc in tier 5? I mean, I guess this guy, and that scares me.
Hmm.
That really scares me. They're all good weapons. They're all good weapons.
Well, waste of everyone's time.
This guy actually, Duck from Lensk. I mean, I don't think that's how you're supposed to say it. Wants every engineer primary to be changed. So there you go. There's someone with a take. Warthog got no unique features, and Stubby and Locke only have two valuable builds. Autocannon sucks in comparison with two other gunner primaries, okay, but I still like it for being punchy. Cryo and Flamethrower should get more unique clocks, and Coil Gun should be buffed at all. Oh, and PGL should get rid of 3 fucking same overclocks. Yeah, absolutely. And let someone had a bit of rebuttal. Do you want to go through this? The rebuttal? Well,
Sure.
no unique features. I laugh in Warthog tier 5A. But that's it though. It's not. You might. I guess you proved them wrong, but you also might be missing the point. Laugh in Stubby unstable overclocks. Laugh in Lock 1 having the stupidest overclock in the game. Literally, no one need to play the game as everything is teleported into targets, even with armor. Wake up, dude, you're under copium. Autocannon is most likely the OP gun a gun has and can deal with just about everything. The overclocks for that gun fucking rocks and stone. Toxic payload and the other one that gives more AoE damage are the most OP to easily deal with any storming for dreadnoughts. So have you seen the damage of that thing, my guy? Crying Flame for a very fine as they all have OC and they don't need to reinvent themselves, stupid crazy overclocks. Coil gun is surely the most OP gun with mold, literally 2-shot dread with its armor taken down. And PGL doesn't need any change as it is loved by so many. And a very Greenbeard friendly tool, plus broken with OC like Fatboy and Hyperpop, so both green and greybeards get a lot of use out of it. Even more ammo OC is broken as PGL is a very reliable weapon at base. That PGL thing is fucking throwing me through a loop. This person is literally saying that the PGL is fine because it's got like broken overclocks. And also they highlighted the 3 that they are as well. No surprises there. How confusing. And the guy obviously comes back saying it looks like you're playing Has 2 solo if you can one-shot the dread. Unfortunately, Duck, they didn't actually say that it can one-shot. It's a 2-shot.
Yeah. Plus,
also, the mole argument is so dumb, though.
Yeah, like fuck off. No, you can't. You won't.
That is not
No, you
usability.
never.
The mole is actually horrible in my opinion. I kind of respect it as a gimmick in that it actually kind of does the gimmick fairly well, but it's a bad gimmick. It's so inflexible. It's literally only for boss fights, That's it. And it's also there's no point even using it because it's not actually. It's just cool to see that much damage done at once. That's it. It's not actually useful, unfortunately. Which is why I do respect the original guy's comment about how the coil gun should be buffed as well. In a way, I may kind of wish maybe I put that instead of the Burt. But coil gun's a bit more sparse, I think. I think it has some issues in both departments, but they're not as rampant. Although the coil gun's still a weird one, where I think a lot of people, you included, would probably just say that Hellfire is the only real good thing that it has.
Pretty much.
You're wrong. Stupid. Fat.
If everyone thinks it, then how can we be wrong?
Well, that's what this guy was saying about the PGL. Where is it? PGL doesn't need any changes. Is it loved by so many?
Well, yeah. Well, that's why Ghost Ship probably won't touch it for fucking years. Because like if I mean if it is broke but no one cares, why fix it, right? Like if the TV's broke and it doesn't get any connection and it's just always static, but the children love watching the static, what's the point in fixing the TV? You know what I mean? Like they're happy either way, right?
Yeah, I also find the implication that Seeker rounds is like overpowered is really kind of funny as well. I think that's what
I had no
they're
idea what the fuck
describing.
he was going on about.
I mean, it has to be Seeker rounds. I mean, I thought at first it was going to be like Executioner or explosive chemical rounds. You know, explosive chemical rounds. The overclock that Waste said is overpowered, and he doesn't understand why it's still in the game. What was that take? That's what we should be focusing on. Also, I don't know what I think the when you said laugh in Stubby unstable overclocks, I don't know if that was the response to the no unique features thing because it feels like it, even though that was just about the Warthog. But even if it was just about the Stubby only having 2 valuable builds, it's basically saying that they're both valuable, but they're not. Her arc kind of just isn't. Although some people still get use out of it. I just think it kind of sucks that the Stubby is like, if you want to use an unstable overclock in the Stubby, you have to use your turrets. Like, what? Sorry? I want to do something else. No. No. Because like the only unique things on the Stubby are those 2 unstables that both use the turrets and then electric arc, and that's not that unique anyway. So I think it's really limited. I think when it's interesting, it's limiting in playstyle, and when it's not interesting, well, it's boring and kind of weak. So there's probably something there. Either way, I find these comments a bit kind of hard to pick apart anyway. So
I asked him if there was any weapons because obviously that's one comment there. Is there actually any weapon he thinks needs buffs or improvements? Because I wanted to see if like someone like that could defend those things so hardly. If there is anything in the game or any weapon in the game that they actually think is bad, or if they're one of the people that would just say they're all good, but he never responded, obviously. So, oh well. But yeah, those are our comments. Our polls. Thanks for participating in the polls. If you're watching this and your comment got read,
well, it did.
Yeah, it got read.
If you left a comment,
yeah, and you're watching this, that's the part that you know, that's the key part. Where it was pretty cool. I think I don't know. It'd be interesting if we can do these polls more often.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think we should force them, but probably will probably come up. Anyway, yeah, Reddit. I think we probably want to maybe we want to focus on like the Stubby more than anything, just to see if we can actually find any more things about it.
Yeah, because I think that we might
want to like now in basically the second half, we might want to go down the road of seeing everything we can get that people have a problem with the Stubby about, and then go on to actually trying to suggest things
about like all the other guns. It is very, very clear. The Stubby is the gun that should be reworked. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. If you think it's strong, you're wrong. If you think it should be another weapon, you're wrong. The Stubby is by far and beyond the weapon.
I mean, apparently, I don't think that because you see my vote. It's the PGL.
Yeah, we think it's the PGL, but we are wrong.
Trounced.
Like it is. It should be the Stubby. It's the smartest decision in all angles. It needs it the most. It feels like it needs it the most, and people want it the most. Like, yeah.
Okay, this guy's
The only
getting
thing left is
A Zukov run.
Zukov run.
I don't know if we want to look at that. No. I mean, he starts with saying the Stubby deserves some love, but it's because it's the weakest on the list. But then he does an entire essay about the Zukovs.
Yeah.
So
Read it if you want to.
no, I don't think we should.
We
Actually,
won't.
sorry. Oh yeah, people can read it if they want to. Okay, we've got so maybe a bit. Stubby thread is actually probably what we want. Please make my main better, Stubby. I won't read everyone's names. I think it's just going to be annoying. Stubby really does need love. It's so bland for what could be a Tesla coil submachine gun. I also think the turret OCs need to be reworked. Why does the NG Shotty get turret whip as a mod slot, yet Stubby costs an OC and a mod slot for only a 50% activation chance? Yeah, maybe. I don't know. I would like to see.
No, he's right. Just
I'm just thinking about the Stubby's tier 5 and whether or not it needs to be like completely reworked. Like if the turrets can make their way into the tier 5 in some capacity, anyway. Not that I think should be this case. Like, I remember having I think it's a stupid idea now, but I remember saying something like how electric arc should actually be turret arc. Like that should just be a part of electric arc. But obviously, we don't need to make electric arc stronger necessarily.
I would like if you didn't have to choose between those two turrets and that you could do both. I would like that timeline where one of them's a mod, one of them's an overclock, and if you want, you can play to both. And your gun's going to be really fucking terrible normally. I don't know how you sort this out, but like if you do anything other than shoot turrets, you're fucked. But if you're shooting turrets, you're doing some major shit essentially.
So
and that could be a bit.
Which one should be the mod then?
Well, I don't think it matters, but I feel like turret arc is more mod worthy, because I feel like having turret arc be it's just a thing. The mod makes more sense than a overclock that relies that you take two turrets, which I still feel like it's weird that people don't talk about that.
Oh yeah. Hold on, no, sorry. Surely that would make Oh no.
Because I'm just thinking about it. You literally you could go into the game with an overclock on your Stubby that doesn't work if you only brought one turret, right?
Yeah.
That's ridiculous.
That's why turret arc is the one. I mean, because I mean, everyone knows that like EM discharge is like the best overclock anyway. I mean, I don't like it that much, but it is very strong. But turret arc is like there's so many things wrong with it, like, and I think that's probably the biggest one. Like, that should not be a thing. That feels really dumb.
Yeah, and its effects, honestly, even if it's just a mod, like it wouldn't be the end of the world. I mean, hell, even if it was in the base weapon, it still wouldn't be that strong. Like, I don't think it would do that much. To,
yeah,
like,
honestly,
like,
turret arc would have been
spread.
like way better as like almost like a hidden mechanic. Like it's just a thing that you could do, but it's not like they don't make a point of it at all. That's honestly would have been better, like a better outcome for turret arc.
But honestly, maybe just like turret arc's a tier 5 really, and then you can actually get turret arc and the other one, EM recharge, where fire, whatever the explosive one is.
Well, the thing is, there's two EMs, isn't there? It's EM refire and EM discharge. Like there's the two, so you could just call it discharge and refire. Yeah. Obviously, they also
which I think would be both would actually be pretty solid because essentially you'd be setting up both and you'd be doing both at the same time, if you know what I mean. Like as you're setting up the turret arc, you'd be killing things in the area in case they're already there, or vice versa. If the turret arc is already there but things are going around it, you could explode the area. Stuff
also,
like that.
they like massively overestimate this. This is the problem. It's clearly so outdated because when they made it, they so clearly overestimated the strength of turret arc, given that it tanks your max ammo. That's not the one that should be doing that. Like turret EM discharge doesn't actually need all the ammo that you keep. It's so efficient that you literally, if you take turret EM discharge, you have to take increased electrocution chance. Yeah, so you're not getting all the ammo you could.
I think that's the thing.
But even then, it's still 200. Like with 50% chance, it's still going to average out to 240, or including magazine, 250 explosions.
How they are right now, the one you currently got equipped is more likely to become a mod because it's closer to a mod than an overclock, right? Like clearly, the way they see turret arc, it would be ridiculous to add it to the mods, because how could you do
But
turret arc
I
and have all that
personally
ammo?
don't know if they see anything because they just haven't thought about it in so long.
Yeah.
They might
Well,
they might not have a
the thing
stance
is,
on it anymore.
I think that this is something I can't believe we haven't brought up. Mike, right? He's the only person that really is thinking about it, right? Like, it's not like many other people were involved in this process, are they? It's just kind of him. So, like, it's just if the Stubby's in his little blind side, then that's kind of it, really, at that point,
Well,
right?
I assume that
Like,
they would still have to agree on what weapon gets the most attention. Um, but apart from that, yeah, it's pretty much down to Mike. As far as we know, I mean, I don't like taking shots in the dark, but we know that is his thing. We don't know how solo it is. I think we do kind of know that all of the season 4 like overclock changes was completely him. I think we know that. But
I
when it
mean,
comes
and
to normal
anytime
weapon balancing,
anyone talks about like weapon balance, so they like, oh yeah, talk to Mike. Like everything is just it's just him. Um,
yeah,
but it's why this video is a love letter to Mike.
yeah. Well, I mean, we definitely identified another problem. I mean, I feel like I kind of already knew all the problems, but sort of getting them out there and sort of confirming them. So the turret overclocks are a big problem, and a potential solution is one of them becoming a mod. So that's something we got. I still personally think that this needs to be completely dissolved, though. This magazine mod, maybe increase the base magazine size by 10 as well. That would be half of that put on the base weapon, and the other half gone, or maybe an overclock that increases magazine size and something else would be better. Magazine size and
I think
direct damage.
I think we would ideally be looking at a world where you couldn't suggest something because the gun will be so different that it's just not valid. like like they would have changed the base gun and all the mods so much that like the changes you're asking for aren't like relevant anymore in like the gun's form. If you know what I mean. Like I don't know. I the Stubby needs a lot.
Oh, we got someone here with an interesting take. Turret aim discharge is unreal, but not in a good way. It's nowhere near the same level of power as turret whip. Turret whip is good, don't get me wrong. Wait, what? What's going on
He's
here?
saying, have you just read a bunch of shit? Like, what do you mean?
Turret aim discharge is unreal. It's nowhere near the same level of power as turret whip. Turret whip is good, don't get me wrong. Okay, hold on. If I ignore the brackets, nowhere near the same level as turret whip, so it makes sense that it's an OC. What?
Yeah,
What? It,
it's saying it's really strong.
but when you say nowhere near, that always is referring to it being below.
Yeah, but it's not
In this
here.
case, it's not. Yeah, can you? That's not normal though. you shut fucking hell. You do need to treat and place the turrets differently and do some weird tricks like float them in the air with plats, destroy the plats so they're above the swarm. But why have I never done that? Look, it's a pain in
Because
the
you're
ass.
silly, and it's not worth the effort, really.
Well, it probably would be, but otherwise though, Stubby really needs some love. Ian Refi is playable, but it isn't amazing. The rest are awful. That represents actually quite well what I do think the consensus is, where it's like Ian discharges the meta, Ian Refi feels good, and apart from that, whack. That's why it
Yeah,
needs because nothing else is getting used. That's why it needs an overhaul. It's just the fact that nothing else is getting used, and that sort of proves that we know what the ones that people use are the two EMs. Um, that sort of just confirms that. Okay, well I guess hold on. This is just about turret whip. Someone trying to say that turret whip is better. Turret whip is AoE in a projectile that does AoE with range. The range is huge in this discussion. So not only do you get two explosions, one turret, one projectile, about 3 meters in size, 6 meters total. One of those can be at max turret range. This is a guaranteed stun and is 100% guaranteed per shot. Costs only a mod slot. Beam discharge is a single 5-meter explosion at the base of a turret that does fear. It has a base of 25% chance, but can go up to 50% chance with a mod slot, so this costs a mod slot and an OC for a coin flip. Turret whip has more overall
thing is,
AoE. Hmm?
it's not the thing is that I agree. Like it is a given. turret whip, like there is no good reason not to use turret whip.
A lot of people don't though.
I know, but it's not for a good reason.
No.
Like, I'm sorry, turret whip is the most free damage there kind of is, other than some of those fire
Well, the
mods.
problem,
Right?
no, because the problem I have with this comment is actually that EM discharge is objectively more free damage because
Yeah.
turret whip uses turret ammo. EM discharge can, well, you know, this guy's like this guy talks about how it's guaranteed, right? Um, with how turret whip is guaranteed. Yeah, it's guaranteed, but you also have at most like a third of the ammo you have with the stubby.
Plus, you
And
can
it
miss
takes
fairly often.
yeah, and it takes turret ammo. Stubby, if as long as you get it, as long as you take the electrocution chance, which you should, there's no good reason not to. That's way more explosions, and they don't use turret ammo either. So I don't know if I really agree with that. I think it actually does justify it
Is
being
there even a
overclock.
cooldown in the Stubbies one?
It's negligible. It's negligible. There is
Right.
one, but it's not going to it's not going to be a problem in terms of actually you doing well. It
Yeah.
doesn't get in the way. It feels like you do it it's functionally constant, like how often you can do it. Like because of the effects it produces. Yeah, I actually think they're actually relatively balanced. I do think it's strange that that's sort of just how it went. That the Warthog got this turret mod and has had it since pretty much forever. Stubby didn't on release, but it got like 2 turret overclocks, and then Smart Rifle's got nothing. Nothing. Just kind of
Well, yeah,
weird.
they said they couldn't do it, can they?
Yeah, but either way, I think EM Discharge and Turret Whip are actually fairly balanced, and that just once again shows the problem with Turret Arc in that it's just never a part of the conversation because it's just a side. It's just like it's just another worse turret one, so it's just going to get overlooked. People don't need 2 different turret overclocks on the same weapon. That's the thing. So Turret Arc is always going to get ignored because it's just the worst one of the two. So I think making it a mod or making it even a base mechanic is actually really justified. Sadly enough. Who's this? Sunshine.
Ew.
Stubby's overclock selection is kind of weak. Both unstable OCs are turret dependent, yet turret arc can only work with Gemini, and the others just move stat numbers around without changing how much the gun works in any substantial way. Yeah, I mean, they're both. The fact that the unique mechanics are limited to turret overclocks and one of them is just not worth using over the other, it's just kind of sucky. Just kind of whack. It's a very simple problem though. That one. It just needs some like 1 or 2 more interesting overclocks added. I mean, the cleans could easily get replaced, and no one would bat an eye though. Like that's another thing. The Stubby maybe has the worst cleans ever because a lot of guns do get cleans picked quite often. I feel like an idiot because I can't think of any really good examples, but they exist. Like a lot of
Special
people,
powder.
a lot of people. Well, yeah, I mean that's probably the biggest one.
That's why it's the easiest one to think of.
But yeah, the Stubby, in my opinion, is probably the weapon that gets its cleans picked the least. Honestly,
As in never.
never. No one is using those, whatever they are. What even are they? They're the 2 that I
Isn't it,
forget.
mag
Super
size?
slim rounds and well-oiled machine. +5 magazine size, times 0.8 base spread. No one just doesn't need it. +2 rate of fire, -0.2 reload time. I'm taking EM refire booster. Don't need well-oiled
Yeah.
machine.
Well, I think it's not just that, but it's just you need more than that to make the Stubby usable. Like you can't be lowballing that clean. You need something else. But yeah, it's mostly Stubby, isn't it?
Yeah. Stubby hands down. It's even worse than Sabata currently. How do you feel about that?
Eh, not far off
It's
each
worse
other.
for class. Like, you think it's worse for engineer than the
Well,
Sabata
no,
is now
I
for
think
driller?
the Stubby is the Sabata is in a better place now than Stubby is for sure, easily. Yeah, like the Sabata is usable generally now. It's not great. Like it's not better than the Wave Cooker or even really the EPC most of the time, but it's usable. Meanwhile, the Stubby, I would not say. I would not say it's usable. Like its
This
best
thing
builds
needs
are
a
not fun.
small but significant buff, like improved mag size or a little bit more damage or whatever new mod. I mean, I think that's all fine. I think actually it should get all of that stuff, and at least the Stubby needs like an actual needs like a GK2 style overhaul, but it also it's just a weapon that needs new overclocks to come around. Like it's a weapon that is one of the weapons that's going to benefit the most from just new overclocks being added generally. And I think
Well, yeah, I'd agree with you, but I think Gen 1 and Gen 2 weapons as a whole are going to benefit greatly. Like, just the fundamentally kind of simple designs that they are with the new wave of overclocks will just be fucking phenomenal. But I think it's only because the Stubby's as weak as it is that new overclocks could do a lot for it.
mm-hmm.
Which I think, if they do an overhaul, we could get a new overclock. It certainly went well for them this season. They might start trying to do that more.
Yeah, I mean, yeah,
Just throwing
possibly.
in some
I mean,
new
I think
stuff.
a new tier 5 is actually very likely, though. I think that's actually really close to being a safe bet, actually, because I think it's very similar to the Sabata in that sense, especially with the Sabata going from 2 to 3. Like, the GK2 got changed a lot. The GK2 did technically actually have one added because they merged 2 and then added like a rate of fire tier 5. Wait, I personally want most. Like, I'd rather just, when it comes to the overclocks, I'd rather just wait for new overclocks, kind of. I think I'd rather have all the effort be put into making the fifth tier of the Stubby really interesting and good, and also giving the rest of it GK2 treatment as well, from a mod perspective. Because what are you going to do to 2 completely pointless clean overclocks? Probably nothing. So I'd actually rather the main weapon be focused on, especially because I think the biggest problem is probably the tier 5s, and then just hopefully get more overclocks in general soon.
I think that's the main issue with the Stubby is it's just kind of overall weak, which is actually very similar to GK2 because that was like a consensus in the end, wasn't it? The GK2 was just worse than the other 2 options in essentially every single way, um,
Yeah.
and I think that the consensus that I think most people have come to, even without Daisy maybe doing a stat video about it.
Where's he, maybe? He hasn't
Which
done
is
a
probably
weapon breakdown in what's been ages.
he
He
hasn't
hasn't
done
done
like anything in
anything.
ages.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean that's all it would really take. I think at this point is if he made a video about the Stubby and then that's it, job done. Really.
Yeah.
that
I
was
mean,
cement
I
it.
want him to. I want him to be honest.
Yeah.
I really think the electric-based submachine gun Avenger, the Stubby, should have more electricity stuff. How is it even possible that a lock one with the appropriate upgrades is a better electric-inducing tool than the gun that is made to be electric? I guess it
A
arguably
good point.
is because it is
No, it
guaranteed.
is.
Um,
Yeah.
Stubby has 3 mod slots dedicated to electricity and not a single OC that follows up with that. The freaking electric Stubby has not a single electric OC. See, disturbingly enough, it's technically true,
Yeah. There's nothing that gives it more electricity or makes electricity more interesting.
Or makes
really.
electricity just stronger. Like, I suggested it because it is
Well,
objectively possible to just have a clean that just buffs the actual stats effect a little bit. I
yeah.
think I need to get the door. We're back. Hello. Hello.
We're
I
back.
actually had a
Not
distinct.
that I think there's much left.
No, I did have a distinct point to make though, and it is actually about that electric thing where I've forgotten exactly what it was, although I can sort of do it through the lens of some ideas. Like I literally just mentioned it could either be a clean or a mod that just straight up makes the electricity stronger. Like actually I think that'll be a really fine replacement for one of the cleans anyway. But to take more advantage of other stuff that other really cool recent things that have made electricity strong. What the hell is that?
Cut.
Yeah, I can tell. Like I would love like an unstable that literally tanks like everything, like maybe even including the chance, but it would make like electrocuted bullets be like mini like tasers. Like that would be awesome. Like, and I only tank everything like ammo as well, because otherwise you would just have way too many and it would become a mess. But I'd love to see something that takes that mechanic and puts it on the Stubby, like things that literally make electrocuting itself stronger. Like I think it's really boring that the ones that take advantage of electricity, they only take advantage of the chance. They don't take advantage of you actually electrocuting enemies themselves. And that's just a missing thing. Like it really doesn't have. It doesn't have something really. Like it's unstable. Oh, it's arguably its best build, completely relying on turrets. That's not really the Stubby then, you know.
I think it's
Doesn't have
that
much of an
at,
identity. Doesn't.
at no point in time does the Stubby feel good to use. It's either shoots too slow, has too low of an electric chance to where it doesn't feel like you're doing anything, or you're just shooting a turret the whole time.
Yeah.
Like there's not really an engaging way of using the Stubby, really.
Like genuinely, if
Like
it turned into like actually, if you went even further, because this guy says, would it really be that OP with 100% chance to electrify? Well, no, because if you just consistently electrocute something, it's not actually going to do much. Like especially multiple shots that
yeah,
all have
you
the
would just kind
100%
of spray
chance.
a horde with
But
it.
if you had an unstable that gave you like I don't know, even if it was half ammo, but they all were like mini taser bolts, that would be really engaging to use, and how you would end up using that. Where you would put them, you could use them as miners, you can put them on terrain and on enemies and all of that stuff, and it's literally every shot. Like it would feel kind of crazy, and it would probably be really fun to see what you could actually do with something like that. And it just doesn't have that. All it has in that department is setting up turrets and trying to hit them through enemies to have what is supposedly the strongest build, but it kind of just feels like ass.
Yeah, I don't know. It's a conundrum which if they actually are thinking about the Stubby, I kind of get why they are struggling to deal with it,
Hmm.
because it is a bit of a shit show, really, isn't it? Like it is very difficult to put your fingers on what's wrong with the Stubby.
This is like it's actually good because we can use this as the last thing. Stubby honestly feels fine where it is right now, so color me surprised with it having majority vote. You sacrifice your burst damage for shock support, paramount against detonators when you're escorting a drill dozer, and it synergizes well with your sentry with EMP. And unlock the Lock 1 smart rifle. You don't need to charge your shots to charge the bugs with voltage lined lead. You give up on precision that can let you shoot over a dreadnought and hit it in the ass, or the ability to one shot a glyphid by aiming a warthog into their face. But the Stubby is a huge team player and an expert survival tool by shocking virtually every bug in the caves. Okay, what? I mean, maybe there's something to it, but as we've already sort of covered, like things that are weapons that are when they're built to be, or weapons that are built to be team benefiting, just in general, that's like their role. They don't. It doesn't happen. It doesn't actually go that way, and it doesn't feel like a good play style either, just to be a complete support. Um, and I don't think the Stubby's necessarily built for that anyway. Um, maybe that comment isn't actually that useful.
Well, I think he's just describing what it is, right? That's it, like I don't know. It could be that, but better, and I think it should be that, but better. Like, like, right? Like, I don't know. It's just that really, at the end of the day, you could basically say anything to defend anything in this game.
Yeah.
Like, I think anyone that really fucking hates rivals or really hates Rockbox, you could easily say they're good if you say the right words,
But
right?
I think that's why we do, or Ghost Ship needs to take the stuff that is so clearly unanimous and run with it, so they can make changes that they know are going to be well received. Like they need to take this information and not just this. Like it's just been echoed time and time again. I literally saw a post earlier today. Someone just basically asking if the Stubby is just bad. They need to take this very obvious thing and just run with it because it's going to work. It's going to be a positively received change as long as the Stubby gets better. And that's all it needs to do, really. I mean, I think there's a lot you can do, but it just needs to get stronger at base level anyway. And people will appreciate it. So do it. Because what I was considering, and I'm glad we're not actually doing it, is actually trying to do it ourselves, like properly. But I think we've covered it all really. I mean, we've obviously suggested overclocks in this video and before, that we think would be
Mm.
cool for the Stubby. And tier 5 we acknowledge is a big problem. But apart from that, I kind of want to see, in general, I wouldn't mind seeing more interesting overclocks. But the truth is, all there really is to say is that it just needs to be overhauled in the way that they have done before. Like, and
Yeah.
we're not the ones to do that. They're the ones to do it. So I don't want to go through it all and be like, oh, let's move the ammo from here to here. I do think these the tier 1 and like 3 are kind of whack though. Like, you know, you've got one of them just happens to have electricity chance in it, and the rest is just, you know, yeah, it's just weird kind of whack little weapon. I mean, I like using it personally, but and that pales in comparison to the amount of people that believe it's like the weakest weapon in the game.
Do
So
you not think it's that as well, though?
it might be. It might be. I mean, I personally think it's the M1000, but that's just me. That's just me.
Yeah. All right. All in all, come on, Mike. You know what to do. It's the Stubby,
Conclusion.
baby.
Conclusion. Stubby needs help, and Stubby will get help. Other conclusion. PGL needs help. PGL won't get help. Cross-examined conclusion. Even though I believe those things I just said, it is still a better idea for the Stubby to get help than the PGL. I think that
right
difference
now,
of the one that will actually be like a very positively
they
received
need
thing, and one that would just
good
be
faith.
one that would just cause confusion and outcry. I think it's very fair to go for the one that's going to get automatic positivity. So
especially right now
buff the
with
Stubby.
the mixed player reception. You know what I mean? Like, yeah. Well, they know what to do at least, because yeah, it is. It's nothing else. Like, I don't think there's any other weapon that people hate as much as the Stubby, which I find interesting because I wonder what if they do fix the Stubby, what would be next? Really,
Because that's
like
how it
that.
works usually. But in this case, the Stubby has been kind of dunked on for a very long time. Like before some of this, like the Sabata and the Stubby were both getting it really, and the Stubby's just been getting it pretty much forever. So it's honestly a little bit hard to imagine. It's obviously hard to imagine what people would turn to after Stubby gets buffed anyway. But honestly, I'd be slightly surprised if it happened. I mean, I think it will happen automatically, but I think it's going to feel more forced though, because I think this is the worst offender. Like, I don't think there's any that equals it. So it's going to feel a bit more forced when inevitably something takes a spot as the worst thing. Because that's just the nature of it. You know, it's just the nature for it to be in a constant cycle, even if it doesn't actually make sense. The community will come up with something to hate on.
But it is good because there will always be
Because
always
because it
a
causes
worse
change.
weapon.
Yeah, I don't want them to stop balancing the game. Even
But there will eventually come a point where if we were to do a poll with all of the weapons on it, it would be indecisive. That at that point, job done. It doesn't mean they shouldn't stop balancing things. They should still mix things up just for the fun of it. But like, if there is no unanimous worst weapon, then job done. And I think it's not going to take much nowadays to not be unanimous. Like, I don't know. Stubby is obviously enemy number one. Zukov's probably not far behind. Coil gun might be around there.
I think the coil gun, literally, just in terms of not be, I just don't think people think about it, and I think that's because that's usually how it goes with Gunner anyway. Because Gunner's just so across the board good that sort of attitude is translated to the coil gun, even if it's not as good. But it's just like, we just don't need to focus on Gunner. He's just fine because he's Gunner. So even if there's a problem, it gets sort of overlooked. But I would still say the coil gun is that. I think it is it is it's easily the worst of the Gen 3 secondaries. Like, that is a really easy claim to make. Like, actually, it's hilariously easy. I do like the coil gun, but that is a hilariously true fact that it is easily the worst of the four like they added in season 2. You know, Shard Diffractor, Bolt Shock, and Wave Cooker are all like great. You know, they're all like A tier at least. Wait, are they? I can't remember when we put the Shard Diffractor, because I think we put the Bolt Shock in A.
It wouldn't have been far away.
No, but yeah, the coil gun. Yeah, man. Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, as long as the Stubby is enemy number one, and then they'll get round to the rest. is how they're going to do it. It seems either that or they really learnt last season and they're going to spec really fucking hard into weapon balancing. Like
I
once again,
hope.
as
Well, I
much.
mean, do I hope that? I mean, I hope that, but I hope it's still just Mike. I don't know why. Is that weird?
Well, I think he would have to be the head because I don't
Because
think anyone knows
I
it better
don't
than
want,
him,
I don't
right?
want that. Yeah, but that's the thing. I don't want like Mickle to be like on him too much. You know, like, if it becomes more of a focus, then maybe it'll become more
Well,
controlled.
ideally, in considering they seem to be a pretty good company, I think the more reasonable thing is that okay, we want to put more of our resources into weapon balancing, changing, and improving. Mike, you'll be the head of the team because you are. Here's two other people to now do what you would do essentially. So everything he
Yeah,
would do gets done quicker, and you can do 3 times the manpower of.
two
So we would
people,
essentially,
two people to work under Mike.
yeah, not permanently, but just while they're focusing
I
on
have some
weapon
candidates.
balancing. Not us. What the fuck
No,
would we
we
do, Jerry?
no, we should. It should actually be flipped. There should be two people overlooking Mike.
Yeah, that would be we would be more qualified for. And I only say
Yeah,
that because the other one we would have to code. This one we would get to do this, where we sit there, do
yeah.
nothing except complain, which is probably the one thing we are qualified to do if we were to get a ghost ship. So
No, no,
yeah,
Tyler. If I was
and
looking Ghost Ship, I would get the title of head receiver.
that took me too long to put together. And I think that is the last joke for this. This I was about to say podcast. I don't know what this is. This is just a video.
No,
I think.
yeah, it's
Um,
just a video. I mean, and I don't think I'm gonna label this in any kind of way that's like a series. I can definitely see there being more poll oriented videos in the future. But they'll come about naturally, which is why I don't want this to be like a series or anything. And I
I mean, the
think,
closest thing would be Deep Reddit Galactic, but that ain't out in. I think.
yeah, and I think serializing things could become less prominent anyway. Dev Q&A is like an automatic series, I guess, but I wouldn't call like tier list a series. It's just type of video, and
Yeah.
I think I kind of, in some ways, do actually prefer types of videos rather than series. Yeah, there could be more. Ideas for polls would be kind of cool. But I mean, and people have
Well, I
done polls.
think
Like Reapy Run did loads of poll like videos once. When he did like a month, he just did them every day, pretty much.
yeah. Well,
Um,
I think a
and
natural way of
like,
doing
and
it,
what I'm
which
saying, sorry,
I
I
wouldn't
don't want to
hate.
do like the basic ones like that either. I don't want to just do that again, where it's just what people's favorite weapons, because I don't know, that's too
Yeah, yeah.
basic. And we've done like
Well,
plenty
no,
of stuff
I
with our
think
own favorite weapons and things like that. So
I think something for at least our channel polls is something we talk about in the podcast. We would then put to a poll. That would be a very kind of natural way of going about it. I think. Um,
yeah,
in that it's just just casually in the podcast. If we ever realize, okay, this is something we could ask the community about, we would then take note of it, do it maybe after the thing, or then probably more after.
yeah.
And then if it's something we find important enough to when we want to make a video of it, we maybe throw it on the um, Reddit. If not, then we leave it on the community post, and that'll probably be enough for the next podcast.
Either
Because I think,
way, feel free to like drop any ideas or anything about even this responses to this. And if you need any encouragement for that, you will be featured on the next podcast. We will.
yeah,
Your comment
probably,
will be in there, as long as it's not too much,
definitely,
which would be very unlikely.
yeah.
So feel free. Aside from that, it's
Thank
over.
you all for watching. See you next
Wait a minute,
week.
hold on. See you on Monday, right?
Yeah. Right. Well, there's one thing, and I'm
I'm
just
supposed to do
speaking
this right.
out
I'm
loud.
supposed to bring this up here, right? Because this is a good.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
You want me
yeah.
to?
It's literally if I may have misplaced
Yeah,
an
misplaced.
important part of the puzzle.
Mislocated should be that should be fine. I don't think it is though, which is annoying. That should be like a valid way of saying that though.
Yeah. Okay. So I've misplaced something fairly important. I think. Basically, the headset that I would use to go into my computer requires it to be turned into like a computer specific one, and I seem to have misplaced the bit that does that, where it turns it into like one USB into not USB, but like one cord into two, and I have no idea where it is, and I need it. Which would be the I found it. It came out when I was getting the headset out, I guess. So yes, we'll be seeing you Monday for a live stream.
A different kind of live
That was
stream.
yeah,
Not a brand new kind necessarily.
a return of the king. Let's go with. But I wouldn't say
A
it's
brand
king.
new series. A brand new...
No, it's a resurrected series.
Resurrected.
Yeah, which will be sneaking onto the channel a live stream, but I'm not going to give a time because that's it's not going to be unreasonable because I know since I'm in charge, it probably will be a time every time, ideally, and I'd probably start without you if you're not there for it, Harry.
What do you mean by
Which
that?
I probably would be like one if because I've got something at like 11:40 which will finish. I'll get back about 12, probably at half 12 maybe, Monday. And yeah, we will be doing something. Be sure to tune in. And if you made it this far, I assume you can do that. Except if you're watching it after Monday,
Well, it's
then
cool. It
it'll
should be
be
like
odd.
I mean, I hope those kind of things will be attractive to people because, like, I kind of get why DRG gameplay isn't necessarily, but it's kind of going to be more of a chill stream anyway, like an actual chill stream, not with like gameplay to pay attention to. It's like gameplay that it probably isn't very interesting, but that's also kind of the only thing going on. And this is going to be better than that. What I'm saying,
Yeah,
have some more value as something you can just put on in the background, but it also could be something that people engage with more as well. It rewards both.
That's the goal. But we'll see. Next Monday the 2nd of
Monday the 2nd
October.
Of October. If you enjoyed this video, please make sure to sniff my balls.
Oh my.
If you want to stay on top of anything and everything Deep Rock Galactic related, including news, patches, and behind the scenes in BTS, the band, you can do all the things that would get you that, like subscribing and bell.
Then hitting that bell.
Yeah. Why were you born, you ask? To subscribe and hit that bell.
Is that from something, Harry?
Yeah, it's like is this just like a random YouTube comment? I don't know why the guy said it, but he just said, "Why was I born?" And then the guy, like the original uploader,
YouTuber,
commented on, like, replied to him, said to subscribe and hit that bell. And it's a real classic. So do that because that's why you were born. That's why you're here.
Yeah. All right. See you then.
Bye.